Is this game Sunday about the Vikings and staying undefeated, or is it about the Lions handling their business?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. It's a Friday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Today is Friday, October 18th into Saturday, October 19th. It's our Friday show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking us out. If you're a Locked On Lions subscriber on YouTube, thank you for watching daily and subscribing. Please tell your friends about us and hit that subscribe button. Tell them to do that. Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On Lions, at Derry Speaks, Matt Derry Facebook fan page as well. Coming up on the program today, let's get into this matchup a little bit, Lions and Vikings. I want to talk about the Lions. I'm tired of hearing about, Minnesota Vikings are so good. They're 5-0 off a bye. Woo! They're 2.5-point favorites. All right. Vegas doesn't think they're going to blow the Lions out. Minnesota's a good team. I respect them. I was the one guy in the offseason that said they're going to be better than people think. I didn't think they'd win 5 games and out of 5 to start the year. But I want to get into this matchup a little bit and tell you why I like the Lions to win. We will get into that momentarily. There's been a James Houston sighting in Allen Park. Dan Campbell discussed the often scratched edge rusher and a chance for him to maybe play this Sunday. I'm not holding my breath after hearing Campbell today. We will get into that. And a couple of diss tracks have hit the Lions lately. George Pickens of the Steelers, and yes, former presidential candidate and governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, is dissing the Lions. I know you're probably going, what? And Matt, you promised us no politics. I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking about a political figure like trying to take down Dan Campbell. Shout out to our everydayers who are out there that watch and listen to the program every day. Adam Kane, thank you for the email. Gopnik on Twitter. Detroit Deadpool on the Twitter machine. Big Game James Meek. Love me some James Meek. Go Titans, Titan territory. And Mika from Finland, thank you for hitting us up as well on the good old social media. All right, here we go. Sunday, huge game. First place on the line in the NFC North. You got the Lions coming in 4-1, fresh off a waxing of the Dallas Cowboys down at Jerry World to where they ran up the score, according to Chris Christie. We'll get to that. Facing a Vikings team that has been very impressive out of the chute. That includes wins over the Texans, the Packers, and the Jets recently. And that's not a bad Jets team. It's not a good Jets team, but whatever. Over in London a couple of weeks ago, or Ireland, or wherever they played. Maybe it was in London a couple of weeks ago. Vikings off a bye, feeling good, coming home. They're 5-0. Lions are going to be facing Sam Darnold. If you recall, the Lions lost to Sam Darnold many years ago when he started for the Jets. Do you remember the Matt Patricia home opener? Jets Monday Night Football, and Darnold and the Jets put a whooping on the Lions. And then a couple of years ago, Darnold was the quarterback in Carolina when the Lions got beat down against the Panthers. Our executive producer, as I like to call him, the great Nathan Litke, pointed this out, that somehow, some way the Lions have issues and trouble with Sam Darnold. But regardless, Darnold has come in. They knew he was going to start for a little while as a veteran stopgap until J.J. McCarthy, boy wonder, was going to get a chance to play. JJ gets hurt. He's out for the year. Darnold's team, Darnold's time. And all this guy has done is lit up the scoreboard, done really well. They get hot early in games. Remember, they jumped out to a 28-0 lead at Lambeau Field behind Darnold, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, the former Packer, the revamped offensive line that's playing well. And Minnesota is off to a 5-0 start. You got to give a lot of credit to Kevin O'Connell, their young head coach, who's done a masterful job. And they hired Brian Flores going into last year as their defensive coordinator. And all he's done is taken a very shaky and young secondary, a team that has lost pretty big names over the years. Eric Kendricks, no longer there. Daniil Hunter, no longer there. Zadarius Smith, no longer there. And all the Vikings are doing is, I think they're second in the league in points allowed. They're only giving up 15 points per game. So they're at home. US Bank Stadium will be going nuts, and they're trying to get to 6-0. And I know some of the numbers, I know some of the analytics favor the Vikings in this matchup, especially now that Aiden Hutchinson is out for the year and, of course, out for Sunday, will not play, is on injured reserve, and all of that. Whom the Lions turn to in that spot, we'll get into in a second. But here's why I like the Lions on Sunday. I think the best way to win, and we were talking about this yesterday with Luke Braun, the host of Locked On Vikings on the Thursday crossover. Shout out to Luke. Always enjoy our conversations. I think if the Lions can establish the run, and I know the Vikings' run defense this year has been much improved, and I know their secondary is probably their weak spot. But if the Lions can run the rock, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, that offensive line, that's a game changer. All right, those guys all year, Taylor Decker, Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, who's a little bit banged up right now, is working on the side in practice, but you know he'll play. And Penei Sewell, that's the difference right there. You want to keep Justin Jefferson off the field, a guy that Aaron Glenn, future head coach Aaron Glenn, said yesterday at his Thursday press conference is the best wide receiver in football. You want to keep him off the field? How do you do that? You run the football. You play the time of possession game. Vikings have faced pretty good run, teams to start the year, like I said before. All right, Green Bay's got a decent run game with Josh Jacobs. Houston, when Joe Mixon is healthy. I get all of that. Right, they played the Jets last week with Breece Hall. This is the Lions. Establish your will. Show everybody nationally. It's going to be watching this game at 1 o'clock on Fox with Adam Amin, Greg Olson. We'll get Adam on the show next week. And Pam Oliver, the legendary sideline reporter. Run the football. Pound it down their throats. Make them stop you. They've got two edge rushers in Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, who are playing lights out. Grenard to pick up from Houston. AVG, of course, signed from the Dolphins. Those guys get after the quarterback. They're both good players. They're not great run defenders. They're not. All right? The Vikings don't have John Randall in the middle anymore. The Vikings don't have great pluggers along the defensive line anymore. They got some young guys that are playing well. But to me, it is a simple formula to win on Sunday. Will the Lions be able to throw the football? I think so. But running it, using the run, remember, the Vikings' run defense has been really good because they've jumped out to early leads in games, so much so that the other team has to throw the football 50, 60 times. Lions win the coin toss tomorrow. I'm taking the ball, and I'm running the rock. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are both on pace for 1,000 yards. All right? This is some Mack and Biner-ish from 1985. Shout out to the 85 Browns that lost in the wild card of the Dolphins. But regardless, I grew up on that. I watched those two guys. That's what these two remind me of. Ben Johnson has been unbelievable at the playbook the last 2 weeks. Seattle and Dallas opened up the bag. He's got it all going. Trick bag, hook and ladders, tackle eligibles, all sorts of stuff. Reverse to JMO. I want to see Ben Johnson go back to basic, hard-nosed. Here it is. We're handing it. Try to stop us offense. Now, of course, you have to mix in the pass. I get you may have to mix in a trick play here or there, something original. But I think the Lions can win this game, and it'll be a close game and a tight game and a low-scoring game if they run the football and keep the likes of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, that crew off the field. Make the Vikings stop you on the ground. Even when David Montgomery's getting 1, 2, 3 yards, it's turning into 4, 5, 6 yards based on his legs, his movement, his want, the offensive line's will to shove him ahead if need be. And I think it's going to help the Lions get a win on Sunday. I'm concerned about Jake Bates in that stadium. I don't know why. I'm having flashbacks to a few years ago and Austin Seibert, but hopefully I won't have to reach for that kicker list. But score touchdowns, run the football, and I think the Lions can win this game. Absolutely can win. All right, coming up next, we've talked all week about who's going to replace Aiden Hutchinson on Sunday against the Vikes. The name James Houston came up this morning to head coach Dan Campbell. We're going to tell you what he said about James Houston coming up next. And we want to welcome, to the party, our friends at Arena Club. For most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on, let's say, a Patrick Mahomes rookie card just isn't in the cards. I love collecting, but that's some serious money that you have to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club stack pack or slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have got to check out. Here's what I want you to do. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/lockedonnfl and use the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's arenaclub.com/lockedonnfl, code LOCKEDONNFL for 10% off your first purchase. And hey, folks, we got to tell you about our friends at PrizePicks Daily Fantasy that is just the best with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks makes daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All right. You just pick more than or less than on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. All right. PrizePicks really is the best way to get in on the action on all sports in over 30 states. That includes California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Think Justin Jefferson this week against the Lions and my guy Carlton Davis have more than 83.5 yards in the air. What about on the ground this week for David Montgomery? Run for more than 75.5 yards. You can put all your money down on things like that at PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, welcome back. It's a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. If you missed Ross Tucker of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and CBS Sports on Wednesday, Ross was incredible. Yesterday, we had the Thursday crossover brought to you by PrizePicks. Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings had joined me. Good conversation as we broke down the matchup for Sunday, 1 o'clock to noon Central for the Lions and the Vikings in Minnesota. So it should be a fun game Sunday. I'm excited. 5-0 against 4-1. You certainly cannot beat that. All right, so Sunday. What are the Lions going to do to replace Amon-Ra St. Brown? Who's going to be out there opposite of Josh Paschal on the edge? Will we see a lot of Isaac Ukwu? Will we see Mitchell Agude up from the practice squad? What are we going to do? What are the Lions going to be doing? According to Terrell Williams, the Lions defensive line coach, he said that we are going to be, hold on, I got to find it. We're going to be seeing a good group with DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike, and Josh Paschal. So you may see more tackles and guys being bumped like Levi out to the outside. All right. We know this. Marcus Davenport's out. Hutch is out. Kaminsky's out. Derek Barnes is out. Lions picked up Isaiah Thomas off the Bengals practice squad. But what about former 6th-round pick from 2021, James Houston, who had a terrific rookie year and now has been relegated to basically being a healthy scratch most weeks. All right, he's been inactive a lot. According to Dan Campbell this morning, when asked about James Houston and his chance to get on the field against the Vikings, he said, quote, "I think there's a chance that he goes to the game here and there may be a place for him." He's been practicing this week, and yeah, there could be a place here, but it's like everything else. It's about the reps in practice, what they look like, and then even when you get in the game, what do those look like? And if they're good and there's production and discipline, then keep putting him in. If not, put somebody else in. But yeah, this is a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for him. End quote. He's played 17 snaps this season. He was inactive last week against the Cowboys. Of course, against Seattle a couple of weeks ago, he jumped off sides twice. There may be a place for him, according to Dan Campbell, as I just read the quote. Does not sound like high praise for James Houston. Yeah, there may be a place for him. Wow, that's it? If James Houston can't suit up and play this Sunday, he's never playing. He's not getting in. If they bring up a Goudet, and again, they've got 2 spots open because Kyle Pecco's out. Like, if they're playing all these practice squad guys against instead of James Houston, then what are we doing? We understand. Rookie year, he was amazing. He got out there, came around the edge with a force, with a speed, and had 8 sacks. And ever since then, and injuries have played a part in some of it, ever since then, he's been a ghost the last 2 years. He's not been the same guy. Started training camp. They wanted him to play some Sam linebacker, work on not just rushing the passer, but doing other things. That didn't work out. And basically, he's only played in 2 of the first 5 games. Now, you're without all these guys. It's got to be an opportunity for James Houston. But it just doesn't sound like Dan Campbell has the faith in him. But this week, all of that can change. As he said, you get out there and you make plays, you're going to play. You jump off sides like you did against the Seattle Seahawks twice, then WTF, man, what are you doing? So I'll be very interested in seeing who dresses, who's inactive, who's out there. Lions cannot afford to lose any more edge rushers. My gosh, no more, please. Like, they cannot afford it. They've got to have the rest of their D linemen here from here on out healthy. And again, on the Friday here, as I'm recording around 4:00, there's been no movement on trades. We told you it's going to take some time. You know that Dan Campbell is making phone calls. And the more the Saints lose, and we saw them last night get housed by Denver, and now have lost, 5 in a row at 2-5. I just wonder if they're trying to get Cam Jordan. And I know Cam Jordan wants to retire a Saint and the contract, and he's been a Saint for life, but man, would he be a perfect fit here. I know he's 35, but that would be a tremendous locker room fit for this team. All right, Lions have gotten dissed a couple of times. This I do not understand. The first one, and look, the Lions, the Lions have, excuse me, one of the best receivers in the game in Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I don't care if Amon-Ra St. Brown catches button hooks over the middle and quick slants and all this stuff, and he might not be your prototypical X outside Z receiver. But the sun god is damn good. George Pickens of the Steelers, who is a big mouth and quite honestly doesn't give great effort week in and week out, was on FS1 the other day, and they were talking about wide receivers and what they do. And Pickens said, schematically, quote, is a big thing in football. That's how you get Amon-Ra St. Browns, slot merchants that schematically get fed the ball. Now, Pickens said afterwards there was no ill will. St. Brown responded yesterday by saying, quote, I feel a lot of people just saw that clip of Pickens and just thought the short part of it, but I don't think he meant anything bad. I feel like he was just saying that if you don't have a good offensive coordinator, which we do have, Ben's great. He's special at what he does. He's able to get guys in spots to make plays. So that's a credit to Ben and everyone on the staff. But like I said, I don't think Pickens meant any malintent. He's just saying with good offensive coordinator, you make plays. End quote. I thought it was a slight. Calling Amon-Ra St. Brown a slot merchant. I don't care where somebody lines up. I don't care. Speed demon, slot merchant, whatever. This is a guy that year in and year out since he's been in the league produces. Maybe Pickens wasn't slighting him. It sure sounded like it. Like, oh, he's these schemes and these slot merchants. Almost like Pickens, and let's be honest, Pittsburgh's scheme is terrible. It's been terrible. Pickens has had 2 or 3 offensive coordinators already. But you still have to have the talent. You still have to have the skill set. When Amon-Ra St. Brown is lined up wide, he still gets the ball. He's not always in the slot. Sometimes he's in motion. It just depends. But calling him some slot merchant, I don't think is fair. That was light from a diss perspective. A former politician and somebody that ran for president a while ago, 4 years ago, is dissing Dan Campbell. This is good stuff. This is hilarious. Hilarious. I'll tell you about that coming up next. Locked On Lions, always brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. What you got to do is the following. You get a hunch in the middle of the game that you're watching, whether it's Lions Vikings at 1 o'clock on Sunday, whether it's Chiefs 49ers at 4:25 on Sunday. You can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. That is what FanDuel will do for you. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel. ALCS, NLCS, both tonight. Dodgers can close out the Mets, leading 3-1. You want to put some money down on the baseball? Or what a game 3 last night between the Guardians and Yankees. You got a jonk bomb in there from John Kenzie Noel on the walk-off home run from David Fry. Guardians, Yankees again tonight at 8:08. Want to check some of that out and put some money down on it? You can at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com right now, America's #1 sportsbook. Lions 23, Vikings 21. I'm taking the Lions to win a tight game on Sunday. Let's go. Run the football. Do your thing. Time for the Vikings to lose a game. I'm calling it right now. I just did that right here on the spot. Real fast, Chris Christie is in the news. Yes, the former governor of New Jersey, who's a big Cowboys slappy and friend of Jerry Jones. I don't know how he's a Cowboys fan when he's from New York and New Jersey. He was on the Mad Dog Unleashed radio show on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 82, the other day. And Mad Dog asked him about, hey, your Cowboys got smoked by the Lions. What'd you think of that? Looked like they ran up the score. And Chris Christie said, quote, "That's Dan Campbell. He's got no class, never has." So it's fine. Dan Campbell, that's the way he is. And what goes around comes around. There will be a time when the worm is turned. Christie added, "I just think that it's misdirected. Dan Campbell's angry because the referees got the call wrong in Dallas in the game a year ago. Well, then run that play on Roger Goodell." The former governor of New Jersey says Dan Campbell has no class. Get out of here. Why is it that when the Lions run up the score or the Lions punk somebody, people like Chris Christie and others say they have no class? But yet, if the Niners do it, the Giants do it, if some of these bigger name Dallas does it, and everybody says, "Oh, well, this guy said this to the Cowboys. It's okay if Dallas does it." The Detroit Lions for years have had the score run up on them. They've had teams clown them and punk them, whether it was Briggs Stadium, Tiger Stadium, Pontiac Silverdome, or Ford Field. There have been times when the Lions have been completely bent over. There have been Thanksgiving Day games. Was it the Colts a few years ago with Peyton Manning? Was it Thanksgiving Day game, Patriots in New England, just throwing the ball up 30? People say, "Well, it's Thanksgiving and they're showing the world what they can do." Lions do it, and all of a sudden it's classless, running up the score, and give me a break. The Detroit Lions at the end of that game were running the ball with Hendon Hooker and Craig Reynolds. Come on, Craig. And Sione Vaki. They were not throwing. Hendon Hooker threw one pass. They were not running up the score. What the Lions were doing was sending a message. They had heard about how they can't win in Dallas. They can't get a break in Dallas. Dan Campbell is from down there. The game's on at 4:25. The whole world's watching. The Lions lose Aiden Hutchinson, arguably their best player. And they want to make a statement that they were going to continue to play hard. They were going to continue to be physical and creative. They were not throwing hook and ladders up 40 points. Was it later in the game? Were they up double digits? Yes. But if you don't like it, stop it. Sorry. It's not classless. It's football. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. But again, Chris Christie, who is a big sports fan, is a Cowboys slap and a homer and Jerry Jones buddy. And Jerry Jones teams now, the last 3 home games, have been thoroughly dominated and embarrassed, including a couple weeks ago against Baltimore and now this week against the Leos. Tough. Dallas is shoved down our throats every single day on ESPN, on FS1, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, this one, that one. All anybody talks about is the Cowboys. Slow news day, put Dallas on. People want to talk about it. Dak's contract, CD Lamb. No. You get your opportunity to play on the biggest stage in the NFL. Damn right, you're going to try to be creative. Running it up, I don't agree. Classless, I don't agree with that either. All right, folks, I'll be back with you on Sunday following the game for Lions and Vikings. Don't forget to check out the live postcast with Jake Riepma on Locked On Sports Detroit. Sunday, immediately following the game. We are back again on Sunday. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody.